You're watching PowerNation. Today on Carcass, we ditch an old set of coilovers for a brand new pair.
We also upgrade our braking system for better performance on the track.
And then at the end, we're gonna wrap it up with some body mods. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Carcass. Well, our E46 has made quite a transformation from a clapped-out daily driver into a V8 swapped grassroots race car. Last time you guys saw this, we were able to get the LS all fired up. So today we're going to be working on the brakes and the suspension.
And before we get to the suspension and brakes, we've already gone ahead and done some upgrades to the chassis itself. These E46 chassis are notorious for having cracking issues where the subframe mounts into the car. And so to take care of this problem, you can go ahead and install a reinforcement plate kit. So we wanted to confirm whether we needed it or not. And so we went ahead and dropped the subframe down. We did confirm that we had a crack, and we installed our reinforcement plate kit. It's a pretty simple process. You just have to prep the areas where you're gonna weld them in, and then once they're welded in, you can go ahead and reassemble the car. This is a crucial upgrade, especially if your car is going to see the track. So if you do build one of these chassis, that's definitely something to look into. So now we're moving on to the suspension and brakes. We're gonna get this stuff torn apart and then put some parts in that are really gonna make this car handle.
Now, a crucial aspect into any race car are a set of coilover shocks. And our E46 chassis has a set installed already, but we do not know the age or the condition of them, so they will definitely have to be taken out of the car. And to replace them, we went to Summit Racing and picked up a direct bolt-in KW kit for our E46 chassis. Now, on the grassroots sides of things, these will work great because they are pre-dampened, so they're basically set up for the car already, but we can do some fine tuning to them to adjust the ride height and to get the car to kind of do what we want on the racetrack. Like I said, all the old stuff is still installed, so we're gonna start by getting rid of all that stuff. Now, we are gonna be doing a brake upgrade, so I'm gonna go ahead and just let the caliper hang here. And well, no surprise here, in the condition of the car, looks like the boot is torn for our lower control arm, or the ball joint here. So since we're this deep into the car, we're just gonna go ahead and replace that whole thing. So we're gonna get this out of the way as well. Now, to replace our worn out lower control arm, we're gonna be using a Duralast OE replacement part. We picked this one up from AutoZone. Now, the best part about it being an OE replacement part, it will go right into our chassis the same way that the stock one came out. This is a great choice for your daily driver, but it'll also work really well on our race car. These parts are extreme tested, so we know it will withstand some of the abuse that it will see on the racetrack. And lap after lap after lap, we will be able to expect the same results out of our suspension. Now, to install our new coilover, we did install a brand new upper strut plate or strut bearing here. There was a little dimple on top. We did grind that off. That's gonna allow us to kind of move the top of the coilover in, give us a little more camber. And we also cleaned up the inside of the spindle here, put a little bit of anti-seize on it. And hopefully this all kind of slides in there. We might have to give it a couple little love taps, and then we'll finish up the install. And that's as simple as it needs to be. So from here, we'll go over to the other side, take care of that, and we'll transition, get the back done too.
Stay tuned. We upgrade our brakes for better performance on the track.
Hey guys, welcome back. Now we're working on the suspension on the BMW E46 and we've got the front tackled already, and we actually went ahead and installed the rear as well. Now the kit that we got from Summit Racing came with a set of coilovers that we installed in the front, but the back here is a little bit different. We have a coil spring, we have its own little separate adjuster here, and we also have a standalone shock that's in the back. So with all four corners done, we're gonna call that a win. We're gonna move on to the brakes.
Now moving on to the front brakes, we went with EBC Brakes Balanced Brake Kit. It revolves around their Apollo 6 calipers, which is a 6-piston caliper, and it includes their 2-piece 355mm rotors, and they also sent us their RPX pads, which are a race pad. That should definitely help us slow down when we're out on the track. Apollo calipers utilize a 2-piece bolted design machined from heat-treated low-pressure castings. Low-pressure casting provides improved consistency, higher strength, and higher caliper stiffness over forged parts. A high-temperature Teflon polyester coating is then used to give a fade-free appearance for years to come. When upgrading a brake system for track use, it's important to look at every aspect of the system. Not only do you want to look at the calipers and rotors, but also the brake lines and even the brake fluid, given that the system operates at extremely high pressures and temperatures. And you want to make sure that the system as a whole can handle the abuse. Now for the rears, we're going to be going with EBC's GD Sport rotors and some Yellowstuff pads. For the rear brakes, we're just upgrading the pads and rotors while utilizing a stock replacement caliper. All right, I'm down to the last brake line that I have to install, and that'll wrap up our brake system.
Hey guys, coming up, we had a little flare to our car, cover up a big hole in the roof, and add some body accents from the front to the back, so stick around. Hey guys, so the next thing that we're going to be working on are some body mods. Now we already have the brakes and the suspension installed, so now it's time to make way for some wheels and tires, and that starts with a pair of fender flares.
And to get this whole thing started, we're going to make a line around the perimeter of the flare, and then once we take it off, we'll make a cut line with some tape so we know where we need to trim, and that way we can make some clearance for our new wheels and tires.
Yeah, that'll work. Cool.
I'm using some skinnier tape to define the upper limit of where we can cut. We do need to leave a little bit of material so that we can drill holes and then use rivets to attach the flares to the car. And we can cut lower than this, but we just want to make sure that we don't cut where we're not supposed to.
All right, before we do any cutting, we're gonna go ahead and get rid of this inner fender in here so we can kind of see what we're working with and to make sure we don't cut anything vital. Now, there are a bunch of screws that hold this in here because it does run all the way to the back. Look at this. On a spark plug too. That's old. Throw this away. That's not going back in. Okay, so with this all trimmed up, what we're gonna do is hold it up here to the line that Jimmy traced earlier, and then we'll go ahead, drill one hole, and we'll get some clecos, hold it into place, and then we'll just keep drilling some holes. All right, so we'll put one cleco on here to hold it in position, and then we'll start coming down the way here. We'll kind of lay everything out, get some good spacing. We grab the corners to make those hold really well, and then we'll lay some stuff out. It does cover the headlight there, we'll have to trim it a little.
All right.
Okay. Go about every 4 inches, should be close. Okay, so we have all the clecos in and it's holding the fender flare in place. So pretty simple from here on out. Take the clecos out and we'll replace them with some rivets. Now in the back here, it's basically the same as the front with one major difference. We do have 2 different pieces of metal we're dealing with here. We've got an outer quarter panel skin, and then we have an inner skin, which is kind of the wheel well lip area. So what I did is I cut the quarter panel short, and I cut the inner skin long. What we're gonna do here is use this extra metal to kind of fold it up, and it's gonna take care of the gap that's in between these 2 pieces. It's gonna keep water out from going places where it doesn't need to go. I also made a bunch of these little relief cuts. It's just gonna make it easier for me to kind of form this metal up. Yes, it's a little more welding, but it's gonna save me some time in trying to form all of this to make it fit. So I've got a couple tools that I'm gonna use, the hammer and the dolly, to kind of do some forming, and then just a pair of channel locks that's gonna kind of bend these tabs up. So we'll get all this bent up, fit into place, we'll weld it all up, then we'll come back, rivet on the fender flare. So by bending these tabs up, filling the gap again, but one thing when I made my relief cut here, you can see that the cut goes almost up to the edge of the quarter panel here. That makes it so I can bend super close to this radius, and then obviously we'll come back, cut those tabs off, get them flush with the quarter, and then that's the gap that I'll weld up. All right, so we have the edge all welded up. Now we're just gonna hit it with the grinder and kind of clean it up. Now, we're gonna add a little seam sealer here, just in case we got some pinholes in our welds, plus those little relief cuts that I made. There's no point in welding those up, doesn't do much for structure here. So we're just gonna use the seam sealer to basically plug them up. So we've given the seam sealer ample enough time to dry, so I am gonna hit this with some spray paint. What we're gonna do here is basically try to stop any rust from attacking this bare metal. Then we'll get the fender flare on it, be the same process as the front, and then we also have the other side of the car to do yet.
Coming up, we add some aero and smooth out the roof of our car. Welcome back, everybody. We're making some pretty good progress on the exterior modifications of our BMW. And yet again, we have partnered with 9 Lives Racing. They sent us one of their big Wang kits. If you guys remember, we did put one on our Camaro road race car, and we had to make mounts and everything for that. But this is a really nice setup and a complete kit specifically for the E46 chassis. So they send the Wang and also the mounts. So we just have to drill some holes in this deck lid, get this thing bolted up. I'm making a couple marks here on the deck lid just so I can find the center line. And then what I'm going to do after is I will measure the distance between the wing mounts, and I'll transfer those measurements onto the deck lid. That way we can put the pylons on here, get our holes drilled, and get everything mounted. On the bottom side here, I'm just going to use a step bit to make a little access hole so we can get the hardware on the other side. All right, well that does it for the wing installation, and a pretty inexpensive way to add a lot of performance.
And to kind of stick with the performance side of things and to kind of sleek the car out, Jimmy did have to remove the sunroof mechanism and glass and the whole deal up here when he built the roll cage. So we have a giant hole up top. So we're gonna do something really easy and really simple. Just kind of add this fiberglass sunroof delete up and in here. So we don't have a giant hole in the top and the sun won't be beating on our heads when we're racing. Kind of just force this in, I think. Look at that, close. Can you come try to push yours down just a little bit so we can go past? There we go. Look at that.
Hey, all right.
Easy, voila.
Need some hardware.
Yeah, we'll mark and drill the holes. We can grab the actual holes that held up the sunroof.
All right.
And we'll get it in there. Safety is a huge part in any race car, but once your car is finished, you have to make sure that you're comfortable while you drive it, and that comes down to which racing seat that you choose. Now, it's not as simple as just jumping online, picking out what cool seat fits in your car. You have to make sure that you fit in that seat first. Now, Summit Racing has a bunch of different styles and brands to choose from, so let's go over what it takes to get those measurements so you guys can order the correct seat. And that starts with grabbing a friend and taking a seat on the ground. Okay, so there's 3 measurements that we really want to know. First one is going to be across your hips, and we use some straight edges to do that.
About 14 3/4, 15.
Okay, then you're going to take a measurement from your bottom to your shoulder.
25.
And then we're going to go across the shoulders.
20.
Cool. Now that we have those measurements, we can pick out what kind of seat we want. Now there's many different styles of seats to choose from. You have a full containment seat with a halo, like the one we have in our Camaro. More of a standard racing seat, like the guys in Engine Power have in their test sled. You have a drag racing style seat, like Detroit Muscle installed in Roadburner. And then you also have a seat that's made for comfort and has a slider, like the one they put in the Mustang. All right, so once you have those measurements, you can jump online, go to summitracing.com, type in racing seats, and we're gonna go down and pick out what manufacturer that we want, or for what seat that we like. And then within the manufacturer's listing, there will be a chart with the measurements that we just took. That way we can take those measurements, figure out what seat we need to order, per the measurements that we just took. So we'll click on instructions, calculators over here, charts and guides. And then this will give us a list of the measurements that we took. It also gives you the measurements of the physical size of the seat so you can fit it into the car as well. And then also pay attention, some of these manufacturers do offer some brackets to help you install them in your car. Some of them you might just have to make custom brackets. So from there, once you get your seat figured out, find your brackets, you can get them installed in your car and be one step closer to hitting the track. The new hood looks pretty good.
Yeah, we got a vent too. Cut a hole out, get this thing in there. Should help us keep temps down when we're out on the track.
Right, it just kind of goes with all of the body mods we've done.
It'll look nice at the end.
Yeah, so we've got a couple more things to do. We are gonna install this. Next time you guys see this car, it will change color, so that'll be big. But for now, that'll take care of it, so we'll see you guys next time.